seminar, webinar here on from Smart Choice Life. This is Gordy Hughes, and I certainly want to welcome everybody. I want to point out that this is probably my first webinar, and been in the business for a long time. We need to present this webinar based on the idea that we see a lot of information that really people should have. But in a lot of cases, when we go to talk to them, it's difficult to get a meeting with them. So hopefully this is going to work. And right now I'm going to try and switch over to a screen share. Tonight, like I'm presenting this for the time being, and my partner here, Bert Falcons, is also involved with setting up this webinar. Okay, so we have contact information, as I mentioned, Smart Choice Life, Financial Solutions, and make a note, we are Better Business Bureau accredited business. We have an A rating, and we are talking tonight about the retirement myth. And because people have certain set beliefs, which they established 20, 30, 40 years ago sometimes, and find them to be good financial principles, which were okay when they were 30 or 40 years of age, that they continue to live in them, and it really doesn't work today in most cases. So the big fear today that most seniors have is that they might outlive their money. And this little cartoon here is simply an idea that goes along with the idea that a frog, if you want to boil a frog, you just turn the water up just a little bit gradually. Now, interest rates have been dropping over 30 years gradually. People have got into the stock markets, and we've seen how they've gone in 2002 and 2008. And it looks like they're going to in 2015, right on time, because it happens about every 7 years. You get a 25, 35, 36% drop. So if we sit there and just do what we did before, we could be in trouble. One of the questions is, one of the things we're going to talk about is sequence of returns. And that's important, especially to anybody within 10, 15 years of retirement or any time after retirement. That's very important to your whole future lifestyle. In this time period, this is just showing that within that few years of retirement, that's the danger zone. Like if you're 90, 95 years of age, probably not so much, but anyhow, let's go back here. Now, this is all about the sequence of returns. I don't know if you can see my marker here, but we have up at the top, Investor A. On the left-hand side, we have negative returns in the first 3 years of this person after they put their investment in of $250,000. What they're doing is they're withdrawing 5% out of that each year, and geared to inflation. The returns here are identical to the returns for Investor B. The difference is that the high returns, Investor A, the large returns, are the ones that Investor B got in the first few years. Thus, the sequence of returns. The sequence in which the returns come may have an impact, because in both of these cases, they have exactly 6.6% for the 30-year period. Question is, do you think that it's going to make a difference, or with the 6.6%, it's exactly the same return over the 30 years? Will they both have the same amount of money? Well, actually, they don't. You see, Investor A here, in his, the drops took place in the first years, and you can see that $250,000 less his income for the year. about 3 years, he's already down over $100,000 just in 3 years. He's only got $140,000 left after he started at age 61, he's age 64. Then obviously, because the negative returns in the first year, number of years after he retired or started drawing income, this means he's going to run out of money when he's in his 70s. And there he goes off the soup kitchen. On the other hand, if, and those other returns are the investor B, he got the good returns in the first 3 years, really bumped up his assets. So he was taking out money and his assets were still kept on growing. Now, as you can see, at the end of the days, he had 2 or 3 years bad returns at the end, which were the same as investor A had in the beginning. But because they were coming off a higher amount later on, he still ended up with $600,000. The sequence of return is phenomenally important. The average and this idea of hang on, just hold on, the markets are going to come back up, does not work when you're drawing income. It simply does not work. Don't believe it. It works if the returns are fantastic, but you have no guarantee of that. There are many ways to make money, and I guess the big question that we have here is, are you willing, are you really willing to gamble with your future? If you happen to be in your 60s, and you got another 30 years to live if you happen to be healthy, there's a good number of people living past age 95. Do you want to gamble with that 30 years? And do you want to gamble with the fact that a lot of those years can be pretty painful and pretty sad, especially if you need extra money for medicines or anything of that nature to keep your lifestyle? Want to just touch on the things that advisors will often tell you makes money. Equities. In 2002, markets dropped severely. 2008, well, I think everybody remembers that rather recently. And stick around for another 6 months, you're going to see it in 2015. Entire lifestyles changed for the unwarned investors. Now, I'm warning you today, not a good place to be in equities. In fact, bonds are not much better. These are just statistics. They show that if you take the high point previous to the big drop and take the lowest point of the market at that point, then you've got these returns. And every 7.2 years on average, the markets do drop by 36.6%. And that's happened over the last 40 years. I can show you this slide, or you can check it out yourself, internet. That's good. Bond rates, just a quick lesson on bonds. If you have an old bond, one they bought last year, and let's say for argument's sake, let's say last year the interest rates were 10%. This year, there's new bonds issued, rates have dropped. Let's say they're paying 5%. That's not what happened. But, so the old bond that is 10 years at 10%, and now you could buy a new bond for 10 years at 5%. Which one of those two bonds would you buy? Because there's 9 years left at 10% on the original bond. It would pay you 90% over that same period, 9 years, then you could reinvest. The other one, you're going to have to keep it for 10 years, and it will only pay you 50%. So obviously, the older bonds that were higher interest rate, when the rates drop, become more valuable, and so bond funds increase when the rates drop. Last 30 years are basically a decline in rates, and bond funds have done well. Just let's check things out before we get in there. corporate bond funds, a lot of these bond funds and current rate bond funds are basically bond funds in B-type bonds. They're companies that are often described as too big to fail. Let me tell you, a couple of the companies that were too big to fail was World.com, Exxon, Nortel. Okay, you can fill the rest in. Anyway, back to GICs. We don't want to keep you all night. Good rate today for GICs, probably what, 2% or so. Could you outlive your money? That was the question we were asking here earlier. And life expectancy is changing. Today, if you are a woman that's 65 years of age, the chances are 1 in 5 that you are going to live past 95. So you're going to be older than 95 years of age and still needing an income. Okay, that's 30 years out. Will your money sustain your lifestyle for 30 years? Now, 17% of men live past 95 too. So this is a big question. Is your income going to sustain you for 30 years? Are there going to be 30 years without any big market declines? Or what can you do with 30 years in GIC? Well, the RIF idea, the traditional RIF idea of just putting your money into GICs or mutual funds, I think that's pretty well come to an end. Unfortunately, you may think otherwise, and I would bring you quickly back to the frogs in the frying pan. Because it worked good in the past, it may definitely not work when you withdraw an income out, because you can't take a hit and come back. So if you go for guarantees and you want your GICs, here are the actual numbers of a 71-year-old person who put $1 million into RIF at 2% GIC, assuming the rates stay the same for the next 20-some years. He's got the income actually increased for a couple of years until he hit age 73, which is the highest income he had. Then, excuse me, that income of $69,750 at age 73 dropped to $26,413 by the age of 95. Why don't you stop here and just think about that for a minute? That's close to a 70% drop in income over 20 some odd years. That's also during 20 some odd years. Do you remember what inflation has done in the last 20 some odd years? Do you remember what a bungalow cost 25 years ago? You remember what a loaf of bread cost 25 years ago? Yeah. So that $26,000 figure, you're going to look more like what? 12, 15, something of that nature. That's a pretty pathetic situation to find yourself in. And those are sort of your guaranteed returns today. Trust me, a lot of the bonds that pay more may have more risk, and they may end up costing you the way equities have cost many people in the past. The answer, the solution to this is there's not one simple solution. But what we always heard in the past was asset allocations, right? Okay, you put so much in bonds, you put so much in equities, you put so much in real estate, and you put so much in cash, and you manipulate that depending on the markets. And yeah, it's just wonderful ideas, but it's non-productive at this point in time. Product allocation, though, on the other hand, gives you some assurance, some guarantees, some comfort in the future. Okay, and that's, you can still have some of your bonds and some of your equities and so on. Let's have a look how it works. Some of the things by using product allocation, and we'll mention those products later, but some of the things they do is they'll guarantee income for life. The fact that you can't outlive your money. That's got to be important when you're looking 30 years down the road. Product allocation allows a chance to grow your assets. There are products that will allow you to, if you are an investor that wants to stay in mutual funds and type product and invest in those equities and those things, and you want to grow your assets, there are products that can help you do that. I got to avoid bonds here. Negative yields when interest rates rise. I mean, there have been 2 years, negative years in the past 30 some, and that was when interest rates fluctuated up a little bit for that short period. You're guaranteed that they're going to have negative rates if and when interest rates rise. The other thing is, if interest rates stay as low as they are, and you take 3 or 4% or whatever it is, and take a management expense ratio out of there, you're no better half than with a GIC. And if you want to get higher rates, you're going to take higher risk. And again, I'll talk about those companies that were too big to fail. Largest in the world, like World.com, Exxon, Nortel. Gosh, there's tons of them. Now, the other thing you want to do when you're at retirement is avoid equities, or at least avoid a lot of equities. If you want to play with them on the side and try to make money, that's great. I wouldn't call it play, but the thing is, it shouldn't be a major part of your portfolio unless you've got guarantees attached to them. So what you got to do is protect your principal. Make sure your money doesn't expire before you do. And that's it. You don't want to be living at 80, 90 years of age on welfare. You want to protect your capital. Don't let returns erode your estate. There's also some estate planning and things. So in order to do this, let us reintroduce to you a time-proven vehicle, one that's re-geared to meet your present day and future needs. That's the annuity. Now, there are annuities, and there's also segregated funds, which are sold by insurance companies. And just for a second, I'm going to touch on segregated funds. They are very valuable. In fact, they today are more effective in many ways, in most ways, in fact, than family trusts. And they last longer. They have many advantages over the family trust, and not the least of which, they are free to set up. A family trust, you're going to have lawyers and accounting fees and so on. It costs thousands of dollars to set them up, and they aren't as good as segregated funds. But back to the annuity. That's a whole other webinar. So sign up for a webinar and our information, our video blogs, and then come on back and we'll give you a detailed presentation on that one day, if you want. The annuity itself, some people think it's a dirty word. Annuities are like cars. They've been modernized. You don't have to go out and crank your old Model T with a crank to get it going. Certainly cars have come a long way, and so have annuities. Some of the objections or worries that people have about annuities is, I could lose my money. I'll lose access to my money. No money for the spouse. No money for the family. All of these are myths. In today's world, those don't have to happen. Can I outlive my money? No. Inflation will destroy my income. That doesn't have to happen. You can set it so that it increases each year, guaranteed. These are things you go over with your advisor, and you select that as you're getting into it. Giving your money to the insurance company. You don't give money to the insurance company. The insurance company guarantees that you're going to get your money back it gives you the choice to select a guarantee period. And that would depend whether you have kids and spouse or whatever. And also, you and your spouse could have a joint annuity, so it goes to the last death. You don't have to plan and have so much money there to look after Mary or whatever, because the thing is guaranteed right straight through if you set it up that way. Is your money secure? Definitely. It's covered by Abacus, and that guarantees your principal to several $100,000. It also guarantees your income for up to $2,000 a month from any one insurance company. Money is tied up in an RSP, REF, LIR, or LIF. Well, I'd love to hear this one because the annuity is an RSP if you want to register it. It is a REF if that's the way you want it. It can be a LIR or a LIF. In fact, it works amazingly better in a LIF, LIR, and LIF because there's no access to your money there. With the registered money, okay, you don't get the actual access. You got the guaranteed income for life. You got a guaranteed period where you, within the first 15, 20 years, whatever you select, that the rest of those payments would come back out to your family. But you don't have access in a registered fund to go and say, I want $20,000 extra this year. In a LIR or a LIF, that restriction is already there. You're only allowed a minimum of like roughly 5% and maximum of around 8%, and that changes with age. But that's the way the LIF is set up. The government has you controlled or boxed in there. The annuity will probably give you a lot more income than anything else in that area, and it's guaranteed for a lifetime. We can go through how that calculation is done in these things. But it is usable in all of those situations. You don't understand enough about it? Well, of course, hey, half the life insurance, half the agents in the country don't understand enough about it, and that's probably why there's not as many sold. Another reason they're not sold is because, well, the broker pays attention to returns and the types of investments it can get you into, get for you, and the banker doesn't sell them because it's against the law. It works under the Bank Act, and the bank cannot sell life annuities. Okay, so you have to go to a life insurance agent, a licensed life insurance agent, and it would be real smart if you got one that knows something about annuities, because frankly, the agencies don't train people much on annuities because they don't make very much money on them. So an agent has to be pretty much self-taught other than the basics. Advantages of annuity. Your money with an insurance company is protected with insurance, as I say, here's guaranteed. Can be non-registered. Most of the stuff I talked about before. Guaranteed lifetime income. Guaranteed lifetime income for your wife, for your husband. That both of you, as the next line says, joint last to die. And you can have a joint last to die, like you could have a couple of $1,000s a month coming in now, and after the first death, that would drop to like $1,500 or whatever. You can have it different adjusted. You can design it with you and your advisor to fulfill your needs, whatever those needs are, all the way through. Income can be increased to match or try to match inflation. Favorable tax treatment, non-registered money. Then you got to compare what's going to go in your pocket for you to spend. And put it this way, if you're getting 5% and you're paying taxes on it, chances are you get to spend 3%. But with an annuity, not only do you probably get a higher rate than anything else, say 6 or 7%, but you're only going to pay taxes on a small portion of it. So you get a lot more tax-free. So basically, if you're comparing to pretty near any guaranteed return, you're probably going to double your after-tax income. So much so that some people do it that way, and well, never mind. That's a whole other thing. Annuity can guarantee your principal to your heirs. Name beneficiary. Any of the money that comes to the estate time, either in a segregated fund or annuity, they bypass the estate. There's no estate fees. There's no probate fees. If it took 2 years to sell your business, your house, your cottage, whatever, to wind down your estate, then this money is not tied up. I just settled one here the other day, and it was like about 8 business days or so, and the check was in their hands. So there's no management or accounting fees. No charges. You don't need to whole complicated income tax return. There's no dividends or capital gains or any of those things. Full or partial cash withdrawals and non-registered money. You can take all your money back based on your guarantee period. Take all those payments back, or you can make a partial loan, if you will, or withdrawal, and they'll reduce your income if you're going for lifetime income for 2 or 3 or 4 years or whatever it is to pay back that amount, and then your income bounces back up to the original and goes for the rest of your life. So bottom line is peace of mind, no sleepless nights, regardless of the markets. This very quickly is a calculation based on one man putting $100,000 into a RIF with 2% return on GIC. His income went from $7,500, and at age 100, he was down under $1,000. Same amount, same age, invested into an annuity. His income not only started higher in the beginning, but at age 100, it was $8,000. It was like, 10 times as much as the RIF. The note is 2%. Mutual funds could be even worse, especially with that sequence of returns. If you hit a few bad years just before you retire, it could be way worse off than those figures. Not sure. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. They're taking income, taking 5% of what they had invested. They got some bad years in the beginning, and a couple of times they had some bad years. They had a couple of good years here and a good year there, and 16 years they were out of money. So it hasn't taken a lot of time. Whoops, here comes Ralph. And usually it would be, Alice said, would be telling Ralph off when it came to the money thing, but this is the caption we picked up, so I thought it was kind of cute. I should have got that annuity. You don't want to be sitting down there in 20 years' time wishing that you had bought an annuity. Today, this is the new thing, the new cashable life annuity, non-registered money. You have access to it anytime you want. You pay a lot less taxes on non-registered income. Okay. A couple can guarantee their income until the second death. That's with any annuity, not just a cashable one. You can elect to have an increasing income, again, with any annuity, not just a cashable one. And these last two things are available in registered money as well. Alternatives, yeah, we have them also. Still want to stay actively involved in the markets? We have alternatives. Those segregated funds have guarantees that even if the markets went to way down, they have certain minimum guarantees in there. And those are things to mix or match or sit down with your advisor and go through them. Guaranteed lifetime minimum withdrawal funds. You can't outlive your money. They guarantee so much a month per year. And that, in fact, back here is what that was. That was guaranteed minimum withdrawal fund. And when they ran out of money, their income kept on going for the rest of their life. Eh? So there are products there that'll do that for you. Depends whether you're interested in your state or so on. Or you can get guaranteed maturity funds. And so here we are. That's kind of the bottom line. Bankers and brokers may not be licensed to sell these products. Why don't you give us a call, Smart Choice Life, do our little plug here. There's the email and telephone number. Toll-free number is 800-471-0411. Just forgot to put that in there. Now, we represent a lot of these companies, and so what we do is we shop through those companies for the best advantages for you, depending on what product you need. And this is our contact information here. So here we are. I want to thank you very much for coming. And by the way, I would really want you to sign up for our video blogs. There are two types of blogs. There's about a dozen of them that are somewhere in the vicinity of 2.5 minutes, and on average. And there's then a bunch of them that are about 30 seconds in duration. So each one, we try to make a valuable little tip. They may not all be applicable to your age group. But if you're interested at all, most of us usually have either parents or someone in the previous generation we know, or children. And so if any of those tips happen to be in those categories, you may be able to find a use for them anyway. Hope you enjoyed your presentation, and hope to see you back next time. Have a good night.